evening. It's great to see a lot of new names and some familiar names from previous annual reports, from previous annual public meetings. We are happy to present to you tonight the 2025 ALCOSAN Annual Public Meeting and Clean Water Plan Update and proposed revisions. On behalf of the Board of Directors and all of the ALCOSAN employees, we sincerely welcome you this evening. All right, in front of you today, you will see today's agenda. The list of speakers here today will take you through our Clean Water Plan update. They have a wealth of information and they are dedicated stewards to the Clean Water Plan. I do not plan to give you all their career achievements, but that will become evident as you hear them speak tonight. They will provide with interesting facts and information with some aerial photos, fly-throughs, and some animated videos that are pretty interesting, and it'll just give you a background description of all the work that we're doing here at ALCOSAN. My name is Michelle Wise. I'm the Director of Environmental Compliance. I'm basically the watchdog for the compliance here at the authority, and I oversee the consent decree as well. So here you will see a little bit of facts about the Allegheny County Sanitary Authority, ALCOSAN. It's been here since 1959 to protect the public health by collecting and treating sewage. Basically, in very simple terms, we take a lot of brown, dirty water through miles and miles of underground pipe to a treatment plant that treats the water and returns it back to the Ohio cleaner than it was than the river itself. This is ALCOSAN service area. You can see outlined in purple is the city of Pittsburgh, and the star on the map is where ALCOSAN sewage treatment plant. The brown orangish color are the underground pipes that convey the sewage to the treatment plant for treatment. This work has been at the heart of Allegheny County Sanitary Authority for more than 65 years, and we operate 365 days a year. Tonight we will talk to you about ALCOSAN's Clean Water Plan. In front of you, you will see facts about the plan, and for the sake of time, I'm not going to dive into those facts. We have a plethora of information on our website that you will be able to find the development of this plan and the status. These are the components of the Clean Water Plan. And tonight you will hear that our speakers talk about the various pillars of these plan. But most importantly, we have 3 proposed changes to the consent decree. The first change you will hear about is an update for combined sewer overflows and sanitary sewer overflows in our service area. And that will be presented by Julia Spicher when she speaks about regionalization. The second update will be a wet weather redundant primary sedimentation tank, elimination of that. And that will be presented by Jeff Argyros when he speaks about the plant expansion. The third proposed revision will be about sampling and reporting requirements for bacteria monitoring in our rivers. And that'll be me. I will come back up and share you with that proposed change. This meeting is an opportunity for you to be an informed participant and ask questions. Ask questions today using the chat function, or we also will have a 30-day comment period after today that you'll be able to submit a comment through our website, and we will respond to your question as well. Before I turn this over to Tim Prevost for GROW, I want to remind everybody for the reason why we're doing the Clean Water Plan. The Clean Water Plan goals are to reduce sewage overflows into our rivers and streams that directly relate to improving the quality of Allegheny County's waterways, which includes boat launches that provide access point to our rivers. These connect our communities with trails along our rivers, and also for public gathering and educational programs that engage the next generation and encourage waterfront development. These communities enhancements are a great transition into the next speaker, which is Tim Prevost. He will talk about GROW, and Tim is the manager of our wet weather programs.
Thank you, Michelle. I'd like to start by giving a quick overview of what the GROW program is. 2016, ALCOSAN started the GROW program as a way to provide financial assistance to our customer municipalities to reduce the amount of water getting into the system, either groundwater or stormwater inflow. The goal of the program was to help, as Michelle pointed out, to improve the water quality in our waterways. The GROW program is a grant program, and the range of funding that we provide, 15% to 85%, is dependent upon how cost effective we believe the project is going to be. To understand that, each project must monitor the conditions before the project and then after the project is over for us to get an understanding of the performance that the project has. There is a 20-year operation and maintenance obligation that the municipality takes on if they accept a GROW award. Back in 2016, we released cycle 1, and in that first cycle, 42% of our customer municipalities participated in the program, and of those 42%, 24% received an award. Last September, we awarded cycle 9, and as of cycle 9, 88%, 8 of 9 municipalities have participated in the GROW program. 71% of those municipalities that have participated also received an award. As of cycle 9, ALCOSAN has awarded over $74 million to our customer municipalities for projects. Combine that with the contribution from the municipalities, we have a program that is roughly about $150 million worth of projects. Now I'm going to go through each project type fairly quickly, but I'm going to try to give a description of what the project type is and then give some statistics, because everybody loves statistics. This project is direct stream inflow removal. These are projects where there is a stream coming into a collection system. And when that happens, it takes up capacity, it carries debris into the sewer system, all things that we don't want. By doing a direct stream inflow project, we are removing those streams, we are removing the debris, and most importantly, we reduce overflows. And these are highly effective projects. These are rare occasions. We don't get many of these projects, but they are very effective. We've awarded over the past 9 cycles only 3 of these projects for a little over $5 million. And when we assessed it, we thought it was about 25 million gallons of overflow reduction in a year. Post-construction monitoring, all 3 projects have been completed, and the final overflow reduction has been found to be over 40 million gallons. Inflow infiltration removal is a program, project type that is very specific to one type of our sewer system, and that is separate sewer systems. But ALCOSAN has 2/3 of our municipalities are separate sewer systems. So this is a very common technology. What these do is they get infiltration out of the pipes and tighten them up so we're not getting groundwater into our system. These projects require a lot of investigation that our municipalities have been doing for quite some time, so they are very confident where these projects should go. 118 projects have been awarded, $25.8 million in funding, and when we ran through these, we thought 54 million gallons of overflow reduction for those 118. Based on the monitoring of the 63 projects that have been finished, we're estimating over 60 million gallons of overflow reduction in a year. Green infrastructure projects are ways to try to mimic nature and semi-natural systems to manage stormwater runoff. By managing the stormwater runoff, we're not allowing that water to get into a combined sewer system very quickly. A lot of the green infrastructure designs that were funded by GROW have been recognized nationally and regionally and have won awards. We have 33 awards over the past 9 cycles, $18 million in funding, and the estimated overflow reduction of those 33 projects was about 43 million gallons. We've completed 16 of these projects, and 8 0.8 million gallons of overflow reduction were from those 16. I do know that there's many more projects that are coming that are almost going to get the final report, so we'll have a better update for you next year. This was supposed to say sewer separation projects. Sewer separation projects are when you have a combined system and you split them up into a storm sewer and a sanitary sewer. These are very effective projects, but they're unique to combined sewer systems. These projects have an opportunity to significantly reduce combined sewer overflows. We've awarded 33 projects for almost $23 million. When we estimated these projects, it was 110 million gallons. 17 of those projects have been completed post-construction monitoring, and we have determined that the final overflow reduction is estimated to be 91 million gallons. So these are very effective projects. And finally, system optimization. Sometimes there are projects that don't neatly fit into one of those four categories, but these are projects that will still remove overflows and reduce overflows. So they are category and growth, but they're also very rare. We've awarded 3 of the projects for about $1.7 million, a little over 4 million gallons in estimated overflow reductions. 2 of those projects are complete, and we're estimating about 2.8 million gallons of overflow reduction in the year. This chart shows how much money we, as ALCOSAN, have distributed back to the municipalities. So about $31.5 million. You can see over time that the money that we've been reimbursing has been going up. And that is because as the program keeps going, we are finishing more and more projects. This chart shows the status of the projects from cycles 1 through 9. You'll see in cycle 1 through 5, a lot of projects are final and closed. There are many projects that are finished, but have maybe a final report to submit or a final payment to get. Those are interim closed. On the other side, you'll see that there are a lot of projects in cycle 9, cycle 8, and cycle 7 that are still currently under design. And those are projects that we will be expecting to be going into construction within a year or 2. As of today, 101 projects of the 190 are completed with a submitted final report. After a project is done, ALCOSAN will evaluate that final report to assess how effective that project was. We compare those results from beginning to the end, and we see this. We determine whether or not a project has been overperforming, is within what we expected, or is underperforming. Most of the projects, as this chart is showing, they're overperforming or meeting our expectations. Overall, the results have exceeded the expectations. And this is the results. As of 2024, for these 101 projects, we've removed over 1 billion gallons, 1.1 billion gallons of water has been removed from the system. And that also results in over 200 million gallons per year of overflow reduction. When you compare that to what we thought we were going to do, 630 million gallons of water being removed, or 108 million gallons of overflow removed, we're definitely seeing that a lot of these projects are exceeding our expectations. And you also see of the projects that have been finished, the value was 26.5 million, and the municipal match was 23.7 million. And how cost effective are these? Stream inflow, sewer separation are definitely very cost effective projects, but all in all, when you put them all together, the projects that have been completed so far is very cost effective. We're estimating about 25 cents per gallon. If you would like to get more information on the GROW program, please go to our website. There's a Q code right there. You can snap on that, or you can go to our website and just go to the Clean Water Plan Grow Program. We have a lot of resources made available to the public, and you can go check out our interactive map so you can see every project and look at the details of the project. And with that, I'm very happy to turn this over to Julia Spicher, who will talk about regionalization.
All right, thank you, Tim, and thank you all for your time tonight. The regionalization program is the second pillar that we're going to discuss. Its focus is on making investment back into the infrastructure that currently exists in our system. The next two pillars you're going to hear about are about some new, exciting infrastructure that's going to be built, but we have to take care of what's already there. So the regionalization program is about the transfer of trunk sewers from the municipalities to ALCOSAN. That doesn't just come with ownership, it's also the responsibilities associated with owning those sewers. So that includes maintenance, all future financial responsibility, and then future improvements to those lines. Earlier in the presentation, Michelle showed you a view of the entire service area with miles and miles of sewers on it. We're really talking about some strategic, large diameter critical infrastructure. So the municipalities will still continue to own system. It's just that critical piece that's eligible for transfer. When ALCOSAN was built and created, we owned the Woods Run treatment plant, and then these yellow lines you've seen on the screen. Those are our shallow cut and deep tunnel interceptors, so large diameter sewers underground. They hug the rivers and then extend into Chartiers Creek, Sawmill Run, and Turtle Creek. Working with key stakeholders and our municipal partners, we developed criteria of what would be considered eligible for transfer. And we landed on any sewer that is 10 inches in diameter or larger and serves more than one municipality. When you apply that criteria to our system, that resulted in 265 miles being eligible to participate in the program. Along those sewers are over 6,000 manholes, over 100 regulators, which are simply locations in the system where flow can either continue on for treatment or relieve itself and overflow into the water bodies during wet weather to protect the public health. So at those regulator structures, there's 68 combined sewer overflows, and there are 40 sanitary sewer overflows that are currently owned by the municipalities and in their responsibility to abate or control. There's also 4 pump station facilities and 4 equalization basins. With the completion of the program, this is what the future ALCOSAN system would look like. So all of those gray lines are the ones that are the trunk sewers eligible to transfer. Those little teal cylinders are equalization facilities, and then the pink triangles are the pump station. So you see it's an even spread across the entire service area, serving 66 of our 83 municipalities. The first step in the process is for municipalities to pass a resolution indicating their intention to participate in the program. Of the 66 municipalities who own sewers that are eligible to transfer, 47 of them have passed those resolutions. Again, it's an even spread across our service area, representing both combined and sanitary systems. To date, 51 miles have completed the transfer process. Those are the lines in the image you're seeing that are shown as orange. The pink sewers are the ones that are through the DEP process. We have to become the permittee for this infrastructure prior to becoming the owner so that we can enact those important control programs so that we can make sure that we're reporting those and ultimately eliminating those overflows. So we've worked closely with our partners, the DEP, who have helped guide us through this permitting process. In 2023, the program had the critical milestone of completing its first transfer. At that annual meeting, we were able to report that 12 miles had completed the process. In 2024, we doubled that and then had 25 miles transferred. And I'm happy to say today that through collaborations with our partners, we have 51 miles that have transferred. In total, 139 commitments have been made for mileage that would be eligible to come over. That's what the team is working on now to complete. Once these sewers become ours, the real hard work really begins. Our consent decree requires that we complete system inspection, preventative maintenance, and corrective maintenance to invest back into that infrastructure at regular specific metric times and at scheduled intervals. Immediately upon transfer, we begin inspecting the system. We work closely with our partners at Three Rivers Wet Weather to have multi-municipal collaborations, to share resources such as hydraulic modeling, flow monitoring services, and develop project alternatives that help both the municipality and ALCOSAN complete compliance requirements and projects to achieve that water quality that the region is striving to accomplish. Once the system inspection is completed, we began doing preventative maintenance. Our in-house crews have done an excellent job of stepping up to this challenge. They're cleaning the system that may include root controls, so they're really becoming familiar with the municipal systems that have transferred. Also, we plan for corrective maintenance. Corrective maintenance are locations where we need to make full improvements to the sewers, where there's no longer an option to really restore the structural integrity, that new capital investments are needed. As Michelle mentioned, we're going to be addressing 3 of the changes we're proposing for the consent decree. The first is a list of the CSOs that are permitted to ALCOSAN. We have been able to close 2 outfall structures along the Allegheny. We call those A55 and A63. We also have transferred 7 CSOs from the municipalities to ALCOSAN. On the sanitary sewer overflow front, we were able to close 1 structure in Turtle Creek, T33, and working through the GROW program and our partners with Wilkins Township and a sewer separation there, we are able to close the overflow TRO3, which is into Thompson Run. 6 SSOs have been transferred to ALCOSAN under the regionalization program. So our first proposed revision is to update the list of combined sewer outfalls and sanitary sewer outfalls to reflect these changes and move this infrastructure from the municipalities' permitting requirements and put it under the umbrella of our consent decree. With that, I'll turn it over to Shawn McWilliams, who will talk to you about the regional system program update.
Thank you, Julia. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'd like to introduce to you, if you're not familiar, the proposed regional tunnel system. As you can see on the graphic here, this is the alignment for what will make up our new regional tunnel system, with the green being the Ohio River Tunnel, the blue, the Allegheny River Tunnel, and the orange, the Monongahela River Tunnel. In addition to the tunnel system, which will operate as one complete system once it's online, we're also constructing a wet weather pump station, which will be what picks up flow from the tunnel system. Due to the fact that we have to get flow to the pump station and the treatment plant, the Ohio River Tunnel will be the first of these segments to be completed. Also included with the Ohio River Tunnel, there are 2 river crossings, which are the Sawmill Run Tunnel and the Chartiers Creek Tunnel. There are 31 shafts that will be constructed with the tunnel system and approximately 40 regulators, along with 4 miles of consolidation sewer. Once the system is online and in conjunction with the other components of the Clean Water Plan, this will result in approximately 7 billion gallon reduction of overflow to the rivers. And this is to be completed by 2036 as part of our consent decree. This graphic here gives you an idea of how the new proposed tunnel system will be constructed in parallel to our existing deep tunnel infrastructure. On the left by the river, you'll see the deep tunnel interceptor, which is currently in use and was put into use in 1959. This is also constructed deep in rock, and this will continue to operate. We won't be abandoning any parts of this system, but instead the tunnel system will be built in parallel and to supplement the existing, capturing overflows that would typically go to the river. The arrangement shown here is typical of what we'll find at each of the pickup points. The regulators will either be constructed upstream or downstream of our existing regulators, wherever we have room for that alignment to allow. Flow will then be diverted into drop shafts as shown here, and then connected to the main tunnel through connecting tunnel. The new tunnel system will be approximately 150 feet in depth compared to our existing, which is currently about 100. This zoomed in view shows you a little more detail of the current alignment that we have for the Ohio River Tunnel. we will begin mining the Ohio River Tunnel from the AS1 shaft shown on the right-hand side of the slide. And we will progress down towards the wastewater treatment plant, ending at the O27 shaft. This will be the 18-foot finished diameter for the main tunnel. From O27 to the proposed wet weather pump station, there's an 8-foot dewatering tunnel, which will carry flow to that destination. The two river crossings shown here are Sawmill Run and Chartiers Creek Tunnel, which are both 14-foot in diameter. The Chartiers Creek Tunnel, due to its length, we anticipate could also be mined using a tunnel boring machine or TBM. The points along the tunnel alignment are the regulators and shafts, which will be constructed to get flow into the tunnel. The nomenclature that is on there designates the outfall of a current existing outfall and where we're picking it up. When we bid the Ohio River Tunnel, it'll be bid as one main package. That means there'll be one team that will perform all the work required for this project. Likely that they will not do it all themselves. They'll have to subcontract, and there still leaves plenty of opportunity for work across the region. Included in this package, there's approximately 4.9 miles of tunnel, 8 shafts, of which 6 will be drop shafts and 2 will be access shafts, and 2 control buildings, which will be for active control gates along the tunnel. The image on the left gives you an idea, again, of the underground facilities that will be constructed, showing how flow goes through regulators into a shaft, drops the flow down to the tunnel elevation, and then makes its way towards the plant. The key takeaway here is that with tunnel construction, disruption at the surface is very minimal compared to standard construction procedures. The image on the right gives you an idea of really one of the only above ground structures that will be left once construction is completed. And this represented here by the building, the active control gate building, which we have in this case at A58 site, as well as some vent piping for the tunnel system. As we prepare to get ready to bid the Ohio River Tunnel project, we've taken advantage of the time we have to get out early works demolition packages. What we do with these packages and projects are to take down buildings and other structures at sites that ALCOSAN has already acquired for key sites along the Ohio River Tunnel. The 2 examples shown here from the first contract are the O14 and O41 sites, both located by the West End Bridge. You can see the before and after showing how the site stands today. The second early work demolition package that we bid and is currently out now is the AS1 site. As I mentioned, this is the site from where we'll launch the TBM to construct the main tunnel. This is also the site from where we will launch the Allegheny River Tunnel. So this is really a long-term main site for the tunnel program. The area outlined in red encompasses all of the area that will be part of the demolition package, with the exception of the Turner Hall building shown there. That building will be maintained and protected during the construction period, and then will be turned back over to be determined in the future. The purple circle represents the shaft, and the green lines represent the tunnel at this location. The image at the lower left-hand corner represents a historic ladle from the steelmaking process, which was recently moved from the site so that we could begin work. This ladle has been transported to a site by the Heinz History Center, where it is now on display for people to witness part of Pittsburgh's historic steelmaking history. The third final early work demolition contract that we have put out, or we actually will be putting out in a few months in Q2, is located in the borough of McKees Rocks, where the bulk of the Chartiers Creek tunnel work is performed. This area here in red shows the buildings that will be demolished on the properties that were acquired so that we can perform the work at this O6A site. This is a very tight site in a congested neighborhood, so there'll be plenty of work that has to be done here and things that will be done to accommodate that work. The yellow outline structure here represents the diversion structure, which would put flow into the red circle, which is a shaft, and then conveyed into the green lines, which represent the Shingus connecting tunnel, which goes down to the Chartiers Creek Tunnel. As an update on the Allegheny River Tunnel, we have just brought the final design consultant on board at the end of 2024. And that process is underway now as we're working through onboarding and dissemination of data that we have for the designer. Another portion of the Allegheny River Tunnel that we previously broke out as a separate project, we call the Near Surface Facilities Package 6. This is the area outlined in red here, and this is located in the riverfront communities of Sharpsburg, Aspinwall, and O'Hara. The idea here was that we could get ahead of redevelopment at that site and get our buried infrastructure in the ground ahead and in conjunction with the developer. As this work progresses, we're approaching a 60% design, which will be due later this year in Q2. With that, I'll pass it over to Jeff Argyros to give an update on the wet weather plant expansion.
Thanks, Shawn. Good evening, everyone. To start out our wet weather plant expansion update today, I like sharing a updated drone image from this vantage point of our plant. This is the northern tip of our plant. What you can see in the foreground is one of our ongoing construction project sites. In the middle, you can see the McKees Rocks Bridge bisecting our plant. And then off in the distance, you can see the city of Pittsburgh. One thing to highlight this year with the drone photo that I'm starting off with is in that foreground, you can really see that project and the finishing touches being put on. In fact, you can see the fresh asphalt that we put down right before the cold weather came in this year. So I'll provide an update on that in a little bit. One thing I always do like starting out with, though, is this slide because it shows our 59-acre treatment plant. And it shows the 9 different packages and the 13 different projects that make up the plant expansion. And you can really tell that not one corner of our plant remains untouched by this program. Every single corner of our plant is being utilized. The other thing to highlight is how restricted we are in terms of, if you look at the top of the slide, that's the Ohio River. On the bottom of the slide, that is the railroad. We really have this triangular piece of land to increase our plant's capacity from 250 million gallons per day to 600 million gallons per day over the next decade. So we had to get creative in terms of doing that. And that is what we're looking at with these packages and projects. I like to refer to this table as the plant expansion report card. One thing to highlight, in that design status column, only 2 projects remain in design phase. Those are packages 8 and 9, primary sedimentation tank E4 and the wet weather pump station. Those are the 2 projects associated with the final consent decree milestone for the plant expansion. So it's not a surprise those are the 2 lagging behind in design. However, the other thing to highlight here is package 6 and the update this year. The solids thickening and dewatering improvements project. You can see under the construction status column, we're under construction since December 2024. That was just 2 months ago. We issued notice to proceed on that large plant expansion project. Another one entering the construction phase. So this is the final general update of the plant expansion, and this is the financial report, the financial aspect of the program. And the 2 things I do like highlighting on this slide are the 2 things boxed in red at the bottom. First of all, that one on the left. We are getting very close to having $400 million committed by ALCOSAN to these plant expansion construction projects. We're just $2 million shy of that. So that solids thickening and dewatering improvements pushed us that much closer to the $400 million mark. And of that $400 million committed, we have spent about $290 million, which is that bottom right number to date. So that was the more general update, and I'll focus in on some more project-specific updates. And the first one I'm going to start with is one of the projects in design, and it's that wet weather pump station. The reason I'm starting here is because Shawn just gave you the update on the regional tunnel system. And the wet weather pump station, package 9 of the plant expansion, as you can see on this slide, this is the connection point between the regional tunnel program that Shawn just presented on and the plant expansion program that I am presenting on. In fact, to the left of that slide, you can see I'm highlighting it with a red circle, the first Ohio River Tunnel shaft. That's that 027 site that Shawn was just talking about. Then there's the dewatering tunnel that Shawn was just talking about. And then finally, we connect to the larger red circle, which is the wet weather pump station shaft. The other thing I'm highlighting on this slide is the proximity of this future wet weather pump station to our existing main pump station. If you have been out to ALCOSAN's open house and taken one of our tours, you've likely been in that building and you've seen some great things. You've heard us talk about that being the lowest point in Allegheny County. You've likely looked down into our wet well. You've seen our pumps by looking over the railing. So just about 200 feet away, that is where our wet weather pump station is going to go. And just like our existing main pump station conveys flows from our existing interceptors to the treatment plant, this wet weather pump station is going to convey the flows from the regional tunnel system that Shawn just spoke about to the treatment plant for treatment. So what will this wet weather pump station look like? If you have been on that tour at open house and seen what I described on the previous slide at the main pump station, you've seen a lot of the concepts that you'll likely see in this future wet weather pump station. The wet weather pump station layout is going to be very similar to the existing ALCOSAN main pump station. And that's really based on the great historical performance of our existing main pump station. So when I say that, that's this wet well, dry well concept. And to describe what that really looks like, you have to picture a donut. And the hole inside the donut, that's the wet well. That's where all the sewage collects. And then the meat of the donut, that's the dry well component. That's where all the mechanical and the electrical equipment stay so that they're not interacting with the same atmosphere that the sewage is. What are the dimensions of this wet weather pump station? It's going to be extremely large, 120 feet in diameter and about 180 feet in depth, which will be even deeper than our existing main pump station right across the street. And then finally, the schedule update for this project. We anticipate getting the 100% design documents later this week, and we have plans to bid this project in early Q2 of 2025, very soon. So next up, we're going to take a virtual tour of the wet weather pump station. These are future renderings. They don't exist to date, but first we're going to walk along the exterior facade. We're walking along the Ohio River side. Two things to highlight here: the textured brick facade up top, and then also on the bottom, some concave concrete panels along the entire base of the facility. And then as our virtual tour continues, we're going to enter the building from the north. And again, this will look very familiar to you if you've been on our ALCOSAN open house tour. We're going to enter at grade, and you're seeing our siphon piping. We have 6 of these, just like we do at our main pump station. We are going to see 3 of them before entering the elevator right behind us. And this elevator is going to take us down that 180-foot shaft to go look at the pumps. And this is a stop that you're not going to get on the ALCOSAN open house tour. But on this wet weather pump station tour, we'll exit the elevator and we'll get to see 180 feet deep. We'll walk by our 6 pumps down here. First, we'll walk by 2 at the same elevation. And then we're going to walk over 2 that are at a deeper elevation. This is slightly different than our existing main pump station. And why that is, this regional tunnel system will really be used during wet weather events. So this wet well will have to operate at many different elevations. And when the wet well is at a very low elevation, these 2 lower pumps are going to be the ones in service. And then you hear a lot of people talk about the lowest point in Allegheny County. Well, I'd like to be the first to introduce you to the new lowest point in Allegheny County. We're not at the pumps. We're actually below the pumps now. And we're going to walk around this entire base. And what you're seeing is the suction piping for our 6 pumps. So this horizontal piping, what's happening here? So right above us are the pumps, but the pumps are pulling from that wet well, which is right on the other side of the wall to the left side of the screen. What we're looking at here is a sump pump in case water gets down here, or in case of a flood emergency, we have some submersible pumps located at this location. And then we'll walk into the final 2 suction piping, and we'll exit through the elevator. And the next stop on our virtual tour, we'll enter at the south side of the building, so the opposite that we just went in. And we'll stay at grade for this stop. Where we're looking here is down that 180-foot shaft, down into the sewage. This is a future access point for future installation of mechanical equipment that we are not putting in day one. But last, this is the image I want to leave you with. This is the view down into our wet well. So if you've been on that ALCOSAN open house tour, you've actually seen this view at our existing main pump station. This is the center of that donut. This is the wet well. The thing is, when you look down in our main pump station, all you can see is sewage. This is what you're looking at underneath the sewage. These are the 6 suction piping that we just walked by, down 180 feet. So that's the final update for the wet weather pump station. We'll move on to a few construction updates, starting at that north end plant expansion. This was the image that I started off with. This is the northern tip of our plant. You can see the triangular shape at the northern tip. And this is the first real flagship plant expansion project that's been under construction for just about 5 years, since August 2020. There are 3 things being shown on this slide: the new disinfection tank, the new chemical building, and the new outfall. These 3 systems were activated on January 16th, 2025. I don't say that lightly. That was a very major milestone for ALCOSAN, and that was the first day that we activated this new outfall, which leads me to the next slide. These photos were taken above the Ohio River moments before our old outfall was deactivated on the left, and then moments after our new outfall was activated further downstream the Ohio River, which is where we just saw on the last slide. This was a major milestone for the entire plant expansion. This is something that's been in the works for 4.5 years. In fact, even longer, but the construction of the north end plant expansion, 4.5 years. It was also a sad day because that old outfall had been in operation since ALCOSAN's treatment plant went into operation in 1959. So we retired the legendary old outfall and we activated our new outfall, highlighted in the blue star. The next thing I'd like to share with you is a video taken from that drone about 300 feet in the air as that new disinfection tank was filling up. Now, where we are located, the Ohio River is at the top of the slide. It just happens to be frozen, and then the railroad is at the bottom of the slide. What we're looking at is that disinfection tank. It's about 345 feet in length. The football field is about 300 feet in length. And we're seeing that flow make 3 serpentine bends. So it's not going 345 feet. It's going 345 feet times 3, going about 1,000 feet. And that's what the disinfection tank does. It allows that flow to take about 15 minutes to go through the tank. And that's what we just witnessed. That video was sped up about 10 times. And that tells you about how long it takes that flow to make it through the entire 1,000-foot disinfection tank. By the end of this year, this disinfection tank will have the capacity of 295 million gallons per day. The north end plant expansion, what remains? Now that we've activated that disinfection tank, that chemical building, and that outfall, the 2 things that remain are the 2 new final settling tanks, EFS9 and WFS9, which you can see in the photos on the right. EFS9, as you can tell, is a little bit further along. WFS9, that's where the majority of the remainder of work will be focused. And that photo on the bottom left was taken down at grade, and it's really to highlight how much rebar goes into a large reinforced concrete structure like the final settling tank here. You may not be able to tell from this image, but this is a 140-foot diameter clarifier. We have 16 today, and with the addition of EFS9 and WFS9, that will increase our total to 18 final settling tanks. As you can imagine, 18 settling tanks with 140 feet in diameter, that takes up quite a bit of real estate. Once these 2 new final settling tanks are activated, that is when we will be able to reach that 295 million gallons per day capacity. Moving further south into our plant, we'll talk about our East Headworks project, another flagship project that's been under construction for just about 4 years, since June of 2021. If you've been to ALCOSAN's open house, you've likely seen this as the backdrop. This photo was taken just about a month ago, and as you can tell, the exterior of the building, it's just about done. It looks like a completed building. As of today, we haven't quite set flow through it yet, but we do anticipate doing that within the next couple months, which will be another major milestone for the plant expansion and ALCOSAN as a whole. The final construction update I'll give today is our CSO bypass and disinfection project. This project's been under construction since October of 2022. Where has most of the work been located on this project? Starting the top right of this image, the upsized flow regulating chambers. It's a little difficult to see here, but the next slide will show an overhead view of that location. The other area that a lot of the work has been focused in is this new chemical building. Just like at the north end, we have to build a new chemical building in this location. So the majority of the exterior facade has been constructed. And then finally, the other item being called out on this slide is the reconfigured bypass disinfection tank. What does that mean? This ties back to that January 16th date I was talking about under the north end. Once we activated our new outfall and we deactivated the outfall that you're seeing in this photo, our old outfall, this disinfection tank was replaced by the north end disinfection tank. And so this disinfection tank is dry now. And that allowed our contractor under this project to get into this tank and do some reconfiguration within the tank, because this will be our future bypass disinfection tank. And this will help us get up to our next major milestone for going to 480 million gallons per day. So as promised, here's the overhead view of the upsized flow regulating chambers. I mentioned this at last year's annual public meeting. This is a very difficult area for construction. What you're looking at is primary treatment towards the bottom of your slide, and then secondary treatment towards the top of your slide. Primary was built about 1959, and then secondary treatment was added in about 1970. And this area in between the two has really remained untouched for the most part. It's an area that doesn't get dug up very often, but what we're seeing here are 2 of the 8 connections between primary and secondary treatment. These are usually buried. That's why they're not usually visible. This is a roadway. But for this project, we had to dig up these 8 flow regulating chambers, and we had to replace them with larger piping. That allowed us to reduce the amount of hydraulic loss in this location of the plant, and this will allow us to get up to that 480 million gallon per day number. So as you can see from this drone image, we're getting very close to finishing up the first 2. We still have 6 to remain, and those will be coming in the years ahead. So that's it for the project-specific updates. Where I'll wrap up is a proposed modification to the consent decree. And that's the elimination of a redundant primary sedimentation tank during extreme weather events. To start out, I'm putting on the screen the consent decree language in Appendix Z for these primary treatment sedimentation basins that are the source of the modification. The language reads, primary treatment sedimentation basins. 2 primary sedimentation tanks will be added to the existing 9 tanks to provide a sustained peak flow capacity of 600 million gallons per day, with 10 of the 11 tanks in service. As ALCOSAN has done on all of our plant expansion projects, and many of our peer facilities do across the country, we had a value engineering phase early in the design period of this primary sedimentation tank project. One of the major recommendations that came out of that VE phase was to eliminate one of the 2 new primary sedimentation tanks, because a redundant tank during extreme weather events is uncommon at our peer authorities. And we did, and I'm sorry, next up, what do I mean when I say extreme weather events? When I say extreme weather events, I'm talking about the plant experiencing an event where we would be operating at 540 million gallons per day or above. Keep in mind today, we currently treat up to 250 million gallons per day. And by the end of this year, we will be treating up to 295 million gallons per day. But based on modeling in a typical year, how often do we expect to treat flows above 540 million gallons per day? We expect that about 9 bypass events every year. That's it. And the plant will only reach these flows very infrequently, and these occurrences will be short flow spikes. This isn't an average daily flow or even a maximum monthly flow. This is an instantaneous peak flow. So we obviously don't want to operate in a silo. One of the other ways that we looked into this is we did speak to some peer authorities in the region that are going through wet weather, that have wet weather programs and do not have redundant tanks during these peak weather events. And based on that feedback, they really provided some supporting feedback to support this proposed revision that I'm showing on this slide. So ALCOSAN is proposing a modification to the Appendix Z language that I quoted a couple slides ago for the primary treatment sedimentation basins to reduce the number of new tanks from 2 to 1. So rather than the current language, which I spoke about a few slides ago, the proposed language would read, primary treatment sedimentation basins. 1 primary sedimentation tank will be added to the existing 9 tanks to provide a sustained peak flow capacity of 600 million gallons per day, with 10 of the 10 tanks in service. And it's important to note that this proposed revision, if you notice, in both scenarios, 10 tanks will be in service. So we will be providing equivalent treatment and will not be seeing a reduced level of service. So to summarize the proposed revision, again, we propose to eliminate a redundant primary treatment sedimentation tank during extreme weather events that were originally planned as a part of the Woods Run treatment plant upgrade. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Michelle Buys to talk about the next revision.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Okay, so we heard a lot about a lot of big things. We heard Jeff talk about big tanks, big numbers, big flow scenarios. Shawn talked about deep tunnels and our conveyance system, how we're upgrading it to carry a lot more flow through the region. Of course, Julia and Tim had enhancements that we are providing in our community. But I'm going to introduce you now is something that's microscopic. It's small. We're going to be talking about bacteria monitoring and water quality. So currently, our consent decree requires us to measure for bacteria in the rivers and streams at various stages of the Clean Water Plan to make sure that the goals of the Clean Water Plan are achieved. And those bacteria monitoring in the 2008 original consent decree just had fecal coliform as the bacteria parameter for us to monitor, which fecal coliform and E. coli are the most common bacteria for sewage in the rivers and streams when sewage is overflowing. ALCOSAN consent decree only required fecal coliform. So due to some logistics about collecting fecal coliform now in 2026, and a scientific shift towards monitoring for E. coli has pushed E. coli as the primary indicator for sewage, we are asking the agencies to add E. coli to our consent decree for water quality monitoring program. So although this change is very minor, we are adding to request to add a pollutant. It is very important to our program. Water quality, as we mentioned in the beginning of this presentation, is the guts of the Clean Water Plan. What we're seeing, all these wet weather improvements are really for wet weather. And in wet weather is when our system overflows, as shown in this diagram. Dry weather, we don't have this problem. We have enough capacity for our existing system to treat and convey our surface area. But during rainstorms, snow melts, they overwhelm the system, and as it currently is today, these overflows occur. So the goal of the consent decree and the Clean Water Plan is to reduce the sewage overflows and improve water quality. And bacteria monitoring is a key indicator for the Clean Water Plan water quality improvements. So this third revision that we're requesting today, that we will be requesting to the agencies, is to update our water quality bacteria sampling and reporting requirements to reflect the scientific shift towards monitoring for E. coli. The reason is due to the revised water quality standards and the availability of local laboratories accredited to perform EPA-approved fecal coliform methods. So with that, I'm going to switch this program over to Kim Kennedy. She's the director. I'm sure most of you know her. She's the director of engineering and construction. She's going to wrap us up and give us a summary.
Thanks, Michelle. All right. Well, thank you very much for hanging in there with us tonight for these incredibly important updates for our 2025 annual update. So in summary, here are the 3 proposed revisions that ALCOSAN will put together and submit to the agencies here shortly. So as Julia spoke to, the updated list of the combined sewer overflows and sanitary sewer outfalls that have been incorporated with the regionalization program. Jeff did a great job of explaining the elimination of the redundant primary tank for wet weather. And then, of course, the update that Michelle just talked about for the water quality bacteria sampling. So here's what's next. There will be a 30-day public comment period. That starts today or tomorrow. We're not going to hold it that closely. Let's call it March 28th. But you have a couple of options for submitting public comment. There is an email address there that you can just say that you're submitting public comment with respect to the 2025 revisions request. Or if you feel more comfortable, you can mail the comment to ALCOSAN and put it to my attention. And we'll make sure that we read it, review it, and respond. ALCOSAN met with the regulatory agencies and discussed the same 3 revisions that we just discussed with you tonight. We will then review the public comments at the end of March and see what has been submitted by the public. At that point, we'll take the feedback and put together a submittal document that will be submitted to the agencies for their review and approval. That will happen, and then they get 6 months. The agencies get 6 months to review it, certainly ask any additional questions, additional backup information, and they render their decision at that point. So that's it for the revisions portion of tonight's program. So I did want to always mention our open house. Jeff talked about it. It is a wonderful event. We go into greater detail on all 4 pillars of the Clean Water Plan, in addition to a lot of other work that ALCOSAN does day in and a day out. September 13th, please mark your calendars. Rain or shine, we'll be here to showcase our work that we do for the region. And then also I wanted to bring some attention to our Clean Water Assistance Fund. If you are in a situation where you are having a difficulty paying your sewage bill, we do offer a Clean Water Assistance Fund. So as you can see on the slide, get a $50 credit on every bill, on your bill every 3 months. So applying is as easy as 1, 2, 3. You see the QR code there. And then follow these instructions or simply call the number that was both on that flyer and listed right here. So we are very proud to offer that program and hope that if you find yourself in that situation that you'll use it. Again, here are 4 pillars of our Clean Water Plan. I hope you enjoyed the updates tonight. We're very proud of our work. I hope that shows through our updates. And if you show a particular interest in one of them, please consider coming down and talking to all of us at open house and having the opportunity to spend a little bit more time digging into any of those details. So this is something that is in our consent decree, adaptive management. And it is using the best available data, the best available technology. These are long programs. Like Jeff said, that north end, that construction started in August of 2020. We just put it online in January of 2025. These are long projects. Things change. If there is something that comes up that can show equivalent or better performance, let's have a conversation about it. This is a very long program and a lot of things change and come up over the course of these many years while we're working on this stuff. And then I also wanted to say, please follow our progress. I think that we spend a lot of time trying to get the information out there to let people participate that are interested in participating in some of our work. So we are pretty careful about updating the website. We've got a pretty informative newsletter that comes up if you sign up to be a subscriber. And then also we are active on social media. So please, if you feel like, first of all, if you've made it this long in this public meeting, then I say that you should definitely be a subscriber, and follow us on social media. So with that, I thank you for your time and attention, and I think we're going to now take some questions and answers that are questions that we've gotten in the chat. You know, so once we start answering some of these questions, feel free, if something else has come to your mind, put it in the chat and we'll get them answered tonight. So Amanda, do we have anything so far?
Yes, hi, Kim. Thank you. My name is Amanda Mueller. I'm the Public Information Officer here at ALCOSAN. We are getting some questions in the chat. So we're going to start with the first question. This is for our GROW program. This is referring back to the first part of the presentation that Tim gave. Kyle was wondering, does the map show all of the GROW projects since 2016 or just 2024?
The map from the early part of the GROW presentation, there were two maps, cycle 1 and cycle 9. If you were looking at cycle 9, what you saw on that map were all the projects that we awarded, all the projects that also applied but did not get an award. So we showed the entire gamut of the participation in the GROW program. And then the last slide in the GROW project, we talked about the GROW website. And if you go into alcosan.org, Clean Water Plan, GROW, you will find the GROW page and you'll find an interactive map, and there'll be more information about each project there.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay, the next question is going to be for our regional tunnel system program. That's the presentation that Shawn gave a little bit earlier. Tom was wondering, have you ever inspected the old tunnel? If yes, what condition is that in? Have you designed the tunnel system so one can be taken down while the other is maintained? If you need me to repeat that for you, I will be happy to do so.
Thank you, Amanda. So I could go into lots of detail for a long time about this question, but for the sake of time, just as an explanation, yes, we've inspected the deep tunnel interceptor that I mentioned, which will be what the new proposed tunnel system parallels. That comprises 30 miles of our 90 original miles of interceptor. That system runs completely surcharged or submerged most of the time. While it does gravity flow to that point, it drops to an elevation which was below the top water elevation in the wet well. So with all that said, we can't technically de-water it to go in and inspect it conventionally in plain air. So we utilize sonar technology. We did a complete system inspection the last time in 2020. And to answer your second part of your question, that infrastructure is in exceptionally great condition. We note where there is debris and grit settled in the system. And from that, we devised plans to perform O&M cleaning and where we need to add additional infrastructure. The second part of the question was, are there plans to take that system offline? That was evaluated at one point, but it's a very costly and tricky venture to perform. And because that system continuously runs 24/7, the deep tunnel interceptor with our treatment plant, that's how we convey flow to the plant. The new system that we have, the proposed regional tunnel system, is designed to collect CSO flow, and the pump station that it goes to is only designed to pump 120 million gallons per day. So it's technically not feasible to switch all the flow to that tunnel. We will be able to inspect that tunnel, the new proposed tunnel, anytime that it is free of water, which would be after an event and we've dewatered it. I would direct you also to our website, as others have, to Clean Water Program or Clean Water Plan Regional Tunnel System, where there's lots of information where you can learn a lot more about our existing infrastructure and the new infrastructure. Thanks.
All right, we still have some questions coming in. This question's from King. What surface disruptions from demolition and construction can people expect in 2025?
There will be no surface disruptions in 2025. We will bid the project. the Ohio River Tunnel project in 2025. But by the time, it's a pretty long bid period for a project of this size. And then by the time we award it and get under contracts, the actual construction work isn't anticipated to start until 2026.
Our next question is, when the tunnel projects are completed, what will occupy the land or properties that have been acquired?
Okay, that's a very good question, and it is actually something that makes our job a little bit challenging, is that after the project is completed and we spend all of this money, everything is undergrade and completely buried and nobody sees it. So the only thing really that you'll see is in Shawn's slide with the building, the gate control building, and a little bit of venting. But in a lot of these scenarios, after the near surface facilities are completed or the access shafts are no longer needed, then they typically will turn into a green space because we really don't need access. We do need truck access to observe that the screening is free and clear of any debris so that it's ready for the next wet weather event. That's a small piece of the property. Otherwise, it will be green space. Anything else, Amanda?
Yes, next question. Can you confirm construction advertisement dates for the Ohio Tunnel and wet weather pump station?
So that is a very good question and something that we talk about multiple times a day. So I can tell you what I know right now. And what I know right now is that the wet weather pump station will bid first. And that's early Q2. Jeff, give me a head nod. So early Q2, the wet weather pump station will bid. The wet weather pump station will have the 4 contracts, the G, E, H, and P, because that will fall under the multi-prime scenario that we have to adhere to for the plant projects. The Ohio River Tunnel will bid second. And what we're looking at now is a later Q2, possibly early Q3 for the tunnel, as we're working through some permitting and agreements with entities that need to be in place prior to bidding.
This next question is also from King. What is the total impact of CSOs saved from all the improvements made so far? And how close is that to the 2036 goal?
So let me think about that. So is that a Tim or Julia? The volume reduction? Total impact of CSOs saved from all of the improvements made so far. So I think that that is actually related to the GROW program. So I'm going to invite Tim up and maybe think about some of those numbers in that table.
Yeah, King, great question. When we went through the completed projects, we had post-construction monitoring. Based on that post-construction monitoring for those 101 projects that were finished, we have estimated that roughly over 200 million gallons of overflow reduction as a result of these municipal source reduction projects that ALCOSAN helped fund. I think that it's probably also fair that other municipal projects probably also have some impact that we're not able to quantify, but I believe that 200 million gallons of overflow reduction from this starting point is a fair estimate to have. So 200 million gallons. Great question, Kim.
Yeah. Amanda?
We've had this question multiple times. Will this presentation be available on the website?
Very good question. So it will be available on YouTube. So all of our previous annual public meetings and including this one are always available at the ALCOSAN channel on YouTube. So I personally, in prepping for tonight, watched a couple former annual presentations. So I know that the old ones are up there and this one will be up there as well.
Okay, that should wrap it up. We don't have any more questions in the Q&A chat.
Well, that's great. I'm so glad that we got so many questions tonight. And again, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your attention. We appreciate you participating in all of our work and look forward to continued work as we move forward in the implementation of the Clean Water Plan. I think that's it. Thank you.